I gave all my money to my 5-year-old daughter. I told her, go find the man named Sean, show him my death certificate and the paternity test, and he'll take care of you from now on. My daughter sobbed and asked me, bewildered, why I had never taken her to see her father. I was silent for a long moment. Back then, I lied to him, that's how you were born. The daughter widened her eyes, her face incredulous. Huh? Mom's a liar? After all, meeting, getting pregnant, leaving, I had planned every step meticulously, even the death certificate was forged. From beginning to end, apart from this daughter, I deceived Sean about everything. My daughter Cece's clothes don't even fit properly anymore, clearly I'm not taking care of her very well. No one braids her hair, she doesn't go to school, and I can't even guarantee she gets 3 proper meals a day. But when she sees me lying in bed, my daughter sensibly hands me a glass of water. Such an obedient child deserves to be sent to a better life. I hung a small pendant on her chest. Go. Mom is about to die. Do you understand? It's late-stage cancer. I could be gone any moment, I won't be able to take care of you anymore. Tears were already welling up on Cece's face. I don't want to go. I want to stay with Mom. I patiently told her, you have to go find your father, otherwise a child like you won't be able to survive in society. Cece kept crying until my head hurt. After much coaxing at last she agreed to go find her dad, the wealthy heir Sean whose family fortune runs into the billions. Even a slip of what he has would be more than enough for Cece to grow up safe and well. I'm going to tell Daddy that Mommy had a hard time raising me and she's sick, boo-hoo. I stroked her head. Be good, your dad won't believe you if you say that. Say instead that your mom is a bad woman who often abused you, she deserves whatever happened to her. Although it's shameful to teach a child to lie, Cece nevertheless listened to me. I breathed a sigh of relief. Cece fell asleep crying. Only after she was asleep did I sit up in bed and tuck the blanket around her. Even in her dreams she kept sobbing, calling out, Mama, want Mama. I sighed. After all, she'd been with me for more than 5 years, even if it were just a cat or a dog, you'd still grow attached. What Cece didn't know was that from the moment she was born, she had been part of my plan. But when she returns to the Fu household, she'll see my ugly face for what it is and very quickly forget me. A gold digger, and a liar. I even conned Sean out of 10 million as a breakup fee, and didn't properly raise his daughter. Now, diseased and in pain, I suppose I brought this on myself. I'm still worried about Cece, so I hid a tiny tracker in her little pendant. With the small amount of cash I had left I also paid for a car to take her to the Fu group. Little Cece, all by herself, was going to find Sean. After being turned away at the reception, she sat obediently at the Fu group's entrance and drew quite a few looks. When Sean came out with a crowd of assistants and secretaries, Cece rushed forward and grabbed Sean's leg. Daddy! Daddy! Sean's assistants and secretaries were stunned. Where did this little girl come from? She even looks a bit like Mr. Sean, could she really be his child? Mr. Sean hasn't had any women around him these years. How could he have a kid that big? Sean only glanced at Cece and said impatiently, I don't have any children. Have security take her out, please. Cece hurriedly took from her little backpack the paternity test I had prepared for her in advance. Mom put this in for me. She said you'll know once you look. Sean's stern expression slightly cracked, his brow furrowed into a knot. What kind of new scam is this? But when Sean saw the paternity test, it plainly stated that the probability of him and the little girl before him being father and daughter was as high as 99%. There was no room left for disbelief. He then scrutinized Cece carefully for a long time. I couldn't help but laugh. Cece wasn't afraid of his inspection, she looked so much like him. Cece also looked up at him, you're my dad. Mom showed me lots of pictures of you. But she said she can't raise me anymore. Sean ground his teeth and forced out, your mother is Anna? Cece's little face was flushed red as she nodded, tears streaming uncontrollably, she doesn't want me. Sean fell silent and reached out to pick Cece up. The secretary could only whisper a reminder at the side, "Mr. Sean, you still have dinner with Miss Sarah tonight to discuss tomorrow's engagement arrangements." Sean was supposed to be engaged to the heiress of the Yen family tomorrow. And now a child suddenly appeared. Worse, Sean had even put her into Fu family's luxury car. I had already tipped off the paparazzi, and they came sniffing around, shooting Sean and Cece furiously. In less than an hour, the trending topics and gossip feeds exploded. Netizens were in an uproar. What the hell, he ignores her when it's convenient and suddenly claims her now. And of all times, right before Sean's engagement to Yen Group's heiress Sarah tomorrow, she pulls a stunt like this? Such scheming. Watch the video. Sean looks totally shocked, like he didn't even know he had a daughter, ha ha ha. Isn't that little girl's mother the same up-and-coming star who used to be with Sean? How could she not even buy decent clothes for Sean's daughter? The sleeves on the girl's outfit are a whole cuff too short. She only wants the child for the money, that's why she hid her away for so long, probably just waiting for today. So shameless, using the daughter like that and not even bothering to raise her properly. At that moment, inside an expensive private rooftop dining room in the CBD, Cece sat across from Sean, looking at him timidly. Sean and Sarah, the heiress of the Yen Corporation who sat beside him, were also staring at the little one. Sarah found the child who had appeared out of nowhere a headache as well. But she had to pretend to be magnanimous and patient. "Cece, did you live with your mother before? Was your mother good to you?" Cece nodded, then shook her head. "Mom always goes out with different men. I don't know where she goes, and she doesn't have time to take care of me." That's what I taught Cece to say, but she was still too restrained. My actual words were, "Mom always brings different men home, she doesn't care whether Cece lives or dies, and she wouldn't let Cece attend school or eat." Sean's expression flickered, as if on the verge of losing his temper. Sarah smiled, clearly a low-level gold digger. Even with a child she still couldn't play the sympathy card properly, unaware of such an obvious advantage. She also ordered many dishes suitable for children, then looked at Cece gently. "So where is your mother now?" Cece watched the waiter bring out plate after plate of delicate dishes and swallowed hard. She had been hungry all day, staring at Sean and Sarah with pleading eyes. "Can I eat?" Only after getting permission did she begin to devour the food. Sean felt a headache coming on. How had his daughter been raised like this? "Your mother doesn't even feed you enough? Where is Anna now?" Cece swallowed the piece of wagyu in her mouth before murmuring, "Mom is dead." Then Cece took my death certificate out of her bag. The time of death was exactly the day before Cece went to see Sean. After a brief shock, Sean still took Cece back to the Fu household. They did another paternity test, and the probability that Cece and he were father and daughter was still 99%. He called Anna, but the number had already been disconnected. He sent people to investigate, and they came back with the same news: Anna was dead. The Fu household was thrown into chaos by Cece's arrival, even rousing Sean's retired parents. "When did you have a child, and she's already this old? This is outrageous." But the die was cast, and raising a child was not a hard thing for the Fu family. Cece went to the Fu household, her eyes wide with wonder. Her first time living in such a big house, her first time having so many people to play with, her first time having a dedicated person preparing nutritious meals for her, everything seemed novel. The butler, servants, and nanny all orbited around Cece, and Sean even hired a private tutor to keep her company. Even Sean noticed that Cece was very sensible, not a troublesome child. She played quietly on her own while he worked, only occasionally causing him a bit of trouble. Cece always had to climb into Sean's bed at night. "Daddy, can you read me a fairy tale?" "Daddy, I'm scared, can you talk to me?" "Daddy, if you promise to take me out to play, I won't cry at all next week." Because Cece was constantly clinging to Sean, even Sarah seldom came to the Fu household anymore. Two grown-ups being lovey-dovey in front of a child always felt a little awkward. One night, Sean was working late, but Cece cried so hard that all the housekeepers and servants at the Fu house were at a loss. Even Sean's mother got a headache from Cece's crying and had no choice but to call Sean back. Sean rushed back from the office, breathless, and asked Cece, "Why are you crying, Cece? Didn't you learn to control your tears?" Cece cried as she spoke, "Daddy, I miss Mommy." "That bad woman, what is there to miss? You'll have a new mother someday. Wouldn't a mother who treats you better be good? Aunt Sarah will read you lots of fairy tales and teach you to draw." Cece suddenly broke down, erupting into a tantrum. "I want Mommy. I want Mommy," sob sob. "I don't want a new Mommy, I want Anna. I want Anna." Since Cece was born, she had never been away from me this long. She had already forgotten every single instruction I gave her. I had told her many times, if she ever had to mention me in front of Sean, she must say I was a bad mother. Through Cece's monitor I watched Sean, at a loss, trying to soothe her. He was probably cursing me in his head, wondering how much of my nonsense I'd fed her. Cece wouldn't stop crying and even started hitting Sean's sore spots. "Daddy, when did you meet Mom? Daddy, why can't Mom live with us? We have such a big room now, I miss Mom." Sean could still accommodate some reasonable small requests from Cece, but when it came to questions about me and him, he couldn't even bring himself to make anything up. When Sean and I first got together, it was crude and awful. I had clawed my way through for years to become a marginal, second-rate celebrity in the entertainment world, barely making enough to live. He, on the other hand, was born into a life where even financiers treated him with deference. Before I went to that cocktail party, my agent had no patience. "If you don't manage to entertain at least one of the bosses this time, you won't even get supporting roles after this. Girls like you are as common as carp in this industry. If you don't figure something out, the company can't afford to keep you." That's how small agencies worked. Any woman with a little looks got signed, and whether she made it depended on how much she could offer. I never knew if they were supplying actors to the entertainment industry or supplying pretty women to the bosses. But it all led to the same place. Beauty that doesn't turn into money is useless in this business. I lacked those few tricks to survive, so I had to submit to the rules. The boss was a pig, the director was a pig too, one hand clutching a wineglass, the other pinching the flesh of the pretty woman beside him. Men like that, even if you slept with them, would be wiped clean from memory the next day. And across the whole party, the only tolerable man was the refined Sean. A man like him never lacked high-quality beauties at his side, and he didn't touch those hostess girls. But I'd been calculating since childhood and knew you had to fight for everything in this world. I traded a stocking and a pack of cigarettes for a male server's uniform, and shoved all my hair into a cap. When Sean went into the men's room, I slipped in behind him. I blocked the door just as he was about to close it. Perhaps he had never seen a woman so bold as me. When I pressed against him, what I said instead was, "Save me. Save me." Not flattering him with, "Mr. Sean, could I buy you a drink?" I pleaded in a wronged voice about how my boss Victor bullied me, how the agent had tried to force me into his bed. I had only wanted to act here properly, but I was powerless. Tears soaked the front of Sean's shirt. By the time he came out of the restroom, Victor's head had been split open. What Sean didn't know was that even this encounter had been carefully orchestrated by me. I told him, my family's had it rough. From as far back as I remember we lived in a villa and I was treated like a rich girl, but my father went bankrupt and into debt, so I had no choice but to do this now. Don't get attached to me either. People like me aren't worth it. A father who killed himself after going bankrupt, a gravely ill mother beyond help, and me forced by life to survive. I smoked, wore cheap black stockings, both vulgar and helpless, and that's how I got Sean. Used to good girls, Sean was moved by someone like me. He began spending lavishly on me and got me the second female lead in an A+ drama. He also made a show of taking me to all kinds of events. For a while, I was the only one at Sean's side. Even the agent softened toward me. "Anna, you've got some skill, huh? You took down a Victor and actually landed Mr. Sean." I chuckled and, without hesitation, negotiated a new revenue-sharing contract with the company. The agent added, "Make as much as you can, don't let the fat chance slip away." I knew perfectly well that, in Sean's eyes, I only occupied a spot because I was new and interesting. He was the only vine I had to climb. Everyone else resented that a gold digger like me had latched onto Sean. His friends would say with contempt, "A woman like Anna is just for fun, right? Pay her off when the time comes." There are plenty of little stars like her. Families like ours would never let a small-time celebrity through the door. Just give her some money and keep her outside, that's enough. The girlfriends who worked with me in the entertainment industry also said, "Oh, just take advantage of dating a top-rich second generation, soak up as much as you can now, or you'll regret it later." Anna, you're not seriously thinking of marrying into the Fu family, are you? Even if you become Best Actress, marrying into a wealthy household isn't that easy. None of them believed I could end up with Sean. Of course I knew there would be no future between us, it was deception from the start. Where could a future come from? But I wasn't, as they said, someone who would be bought off by a single payout from Sean. Sometimes he bought me handbags, and I would coquettishly refuse them. What are these little favors? I'm here to pocket something much bigger. Sarah wasn't the first woman the Fu family tried to match with Sean. By the time I was often seen with Sean at all sorts of public events, the Fu family had already begun arranging marriage ties for him. Miss Wendy was more direct. She saw at a glance that what I wanted was money. "I'll give you 3 million, leave Sean." But she didn't know that 3 million couldn't solve anything for me. I acted delicate and weak, though a calculating light flashed in my eyes, but I like Sean, status doesn't matter, and lately he's been with me anyway. I even patted my belly, who knows, I might already be carrying a Fu family baby. Miss Wendy was annoyed, but I kept trampling on her dignity. "Miss Wendy, in your circle, as long as things aren't made public, they're nothing, right? Rest assured, once you marry Sean, I won't appear in front of you. Just give me and the child a way to live." How could such an aristocratic young lady tolerate a person from the bottom sullying her marriage? She had people teach me a lesson. By the time Sean found me, I was already lying among the shards of glass. The glass had torn my skin, blood seeped slowly out, it looked like there wasn't an unhurt spot on my body. "Sean, please let me go, won't you? I'm really scared." Sean's eyes revealed pain. "Anna. He once said he would protect me, but how can anyone be tied to another person every moment?" Today Miss Wendy at least showed some mercy. This matter was even brought before Sean's parents at the Fu household. Sean assured them he absolutely would not bring me home before it was dropped. In the end, at my pleading, he softened. He gave me a large sum of money, said he would protect me well, and even bought me a property, wanting to hide me away in a gilded house. At that time he didn't know that I was already pregnant with Cece, that I was already plotting my own escape route. Even this wound I suffered was because I provoked Miss Wendy. I took Sean's money, cards, and property, and then ran off with the child in my belly. After I left, he learned everything and, I heard, fell into a long spell of despondency. Such a favored son of fate, spun dizzyingly around by a woman he saw as nothing but dust. Sean blocked me, froze the cards he'd given me, and transferred the property titles away, yet the money couldn't be recovered. It seemed he wanted to sever ties with me for good in this life. Only if I died would Sean accept Cece without reservation, right? Such a sweet, sensible little girl, she's really been a bargain for him. Cece still wouldn't listen. She came to see me secretly while Sean was out. She had the housekeeper call her a car, saying she wanted to buy a bouquet for Mom and a toy to take back, then slipped away as soon as she turned her back. She still remembered how to find me. She walked into the ward with tiny pitter-patter steps. The moment she saw me she began to cry. "Mama! Mama!" I felt a pang in my heart. Cece placed the crumpled money into my hand, her small palm clutching my finger. "Mama, even though the Fu family is very good, very rich, with so many people, they all fawn over me and take such good care of me, I still want to be with you. I took a little money from the Fu house. Do you think this is enough?" A sharp pang of sorrow rose in my chest. She was still so young. She had taken money from the Fu family. How would Sean ever look at her afterward? Would he think of her the way he thought of her mother, whose only care was lining her pockets? Cece, go back now. Didn't I tell you? Don't come here. Just pretend your mother is gone. Your mother is a bad mother. You should go to the Fu family and start a new life. I hardened my heart and pushed Cece toward the door. But no matter what, she refused to leave. I'll stay just one afternoon. Just one afternoon, Mommy, let me stay with you, please don't send me away. Mommy, you must be in pain, and there's no one to keep you company. Let Cece blow on you a little, okay? Cece's eyes were rimmed with tears that she didn't dare let fall. I closed mine for a moment. After a lifetime of being a cold-hearted con artist, I was being played by this little girl. As expected, children are born to collect debts. Suddenly, Sean walked in from outside the ward, a chill about him. Anna, you're not dead? What trick are you up to this time? I smiled bitterly. Sean was no longer the young man he once was, he wasn't so easy to fool. He swept Cece into his arms and looked at me with a warning. Don't think you're the only one who can hide a camera in a pendant. So that's why, under the Fu family's watch, Cece could slip out so easily. It turned out Sean had come to catch my setup. Cece grabbed Sean's suit pants. Daddy. Don't be harsh with Mom, it was my idea, I wanted to come myself. Sean didn't buy it, he was going to pin this whole thing on me. I felt like in the next second he would come and strangle me. Luckily he had some restraint, controlled his temper, and instructed his assistant to take Cece out. After the assistant took Cece away, he slammed the ward door shut. He came up to me and sneered, using a child to swindle money. Anna, do you have any conscience at all? I said indifferently, she came by herself, what can I do? You Fu family have so many people, and none of you could keep an eye on a little brat. You've got the nerve to say that? Fine if you lied to me, but you lied to that little kid too? What did I lie to her about? You lied and told her you were dead, that you didn't want her anymore. Cece is so young, crying every day, how could you be so cold-hearted? Are you trying to scam some money and vanish again? Leave this daughter with me? How carefree of you, Anna. Sean's words cut into my chest like a blade, little by little. My eyes stung and I turned my face away from him. If I truly had no other way out, would I really refuse Cece? But things had come to this, and I had to harden my heart. She's not only my daughter but yours too, there's a paternity test and the media has exposed it. You have to take care of her, or I have other cards to play. Sean, who had rarely been threatened, immediately wanted to show me a thing or two. Just then Cece rushed in and stood in front of Sean. I won't allow you to hurt Mom like this. The butler stood outside, apologetic as he looked at Sean, his hand still marked where Cece had bitten him. Cece had struggled fiercely, he had been afraid of hurting the child. In the end, Cece found an opening and slipped in. Sean picked up Cece, biting back his temper, and patiently said to her, "You're still little, you don't understand a lot of things yet. Don't take a bad woman for your mother. What can she teach you? How to swindle money? How to have a baby out of wedlock? Or how to serve drinks in a nightclub? If you have a mother like that, what kind of person will you become? Cece, be good, obey me, come home with Daddy." Cece felt the harshness in Sean's voice. She shrank in his arms, too afraid to speak, but she also wanted to stand up for me. She clenched her little fist and tried to prove to Sean, "Mom didn't, it's not Mom's fault. Mom wouldn't do that." Sean laughed in anger. "If it's not her fault, whose fault is it? You're still so young and you already run off to give her money, didn't she egg you on? Anna, admit it. How much do you plan to swindle this time? Let me guess, you're going to say you have a terminal illness and need a huge sum for treatment? Is Cece acting with you this time? Or did you recruit someone else? A doctor? A nurse?" From the very beginning, he never believed my lie about dying. But that's fine, I'd anticipated that. This was just my smokescreen, exploiting how little Sean had ever trusted me. Cece would definitely come to me, that little girl had been inseparable from me since birth. I had to deepen Sean's image of me as a fraud in his mind, make him utterly disgusted with me, so he would cut Cece off completely. Although the lie was clumsy, if he went to check, he'd know I hadn't been faking illness at the hospital. I understood him, he only believed what he saw. A money-seeking woman feigning illness, coaxing her daughter to come to her. Sean almost immediately cast me in that villainous role. But that suited me perfectly. It would be best if Cece could forget me or even hate me, that way, when I truly die, she won't be so tormented. Sure enough, Sean, just as I had known him, was arrogant, even with the doctor standing right there. He scolded me. "Anna, I have to say, you're really cunning. First you shoved Cece at me, then you lured me to the hospital to find you, and now you put on this dying act?" I tilted my head and fanned the flames at him. "Sean, didn't you know? I've always been a con artist. If I'm putting on a show, I do it all the way. Now you know everything. Happy? It's just a shame, I thought I could have squeezed a big payout out of you." Sean grabbed Cece and slammed the door behind them. As they left, Cece kept looking back at me. I mouthed to her, "Cece, don't cry. We agreed on this." I don't know if she heard me. Even though everything was unfolding exactly as I had planned, my chest still felt tight. Dragging this sick body through another performance for Sean was exhausting. By rights, a wretch like me should live for 1,000 years. So why won't they let me live that long? Why can't I stay a little longer for Cece? I have no idea how Cece is doing. Apart from scrolling through my phone every day, there's no way for me to see her anymore. I lie in the hospital like a corpse, awaiting my final death. When the doctors do their rounds, they only repeat the same conclusion: "Miss Anna, keeping a cheerful mood is the most important thing. If your body weren't so weak right now, you could actually go out and clear your head. Travel a bit?" Basically, when the doctors say that it's a verdict, there are no more treatments. I have no other family. For these past years it has only been Cece and me, relying on each other. I used to think Cece couldn't live without me. Now I feel it's me who can't live without Cece. From the moment she was an embryo, she never left my side. If it were possible, I wouldn't want her to leave so young either, but fate is just that cruel. Sometimes I even wonder if it's because of all the bad things I've done, that karma has come for me and stolen the time I could have spent with Cece. Unfortunately, there's no if anymore. After Cece left, I lost all will to live. I stopped treatment and lay in bed every day, waiting to die. I'm not a competent good mother. The last thing I can do for Cece is to send her off to a good life. I don't really know what a good mother should be like. No one ever taught me how to be one. My mother had no idea who my father was. Sleeping with someone was easier for her than buying a pack of cigarettes. In the memories before I slipped into the entertainment industry, all there was at the door was filthy runoff, piles of garbage at the corner, and the malicious looks of people from every walk of life. My mother had no steady job and was fond of drink, but she was very beautiful. Beauty in a poor neighborhood like ours is a dangerous thing, yet she didn't care. She had no dignity. As long as there was food to eat, she would do anything. When she was sober sometimes, she'd go to nightclubs to sit with customers and earn a little for living expenses. Needless to say, my schooling, my day-to-day life, even being able to eat until I was full, were all difficult. Sometimes I think maybe she did love me, otherwise why bother to feed me when I stutter? Why not just throw me away in the rubbish heap? But then I think, if she truly loved me, why would she let us rot together in the mud? Maybe she only had a shred of conscience left toward me, but that sliver of conscience was not love. I also inherited her pretty face. Were it not for my daily habit of smearing soot on my face and living like a little beggar, I might have been devoured by those people long ago. The first time I earned money was because an agent noticed I was pretty. "Why don't you try the entertainment industry? You're so beautiful, you'll surely make it big. We'll dress you up when the time comes, give you a new identity. How about a fallen gentry young lady?" People tend to like that kind of persona. Yes, from the start I was lying to Sean. My family was never genteelly ruined. From beginning to end we lived in the very bottom of the slums, rat poor. I had never seen any of those high society things. I just learned how to fake it. Even after I hooked up with Sean, at night I'd search online for the terms he used, or prepare for the next day's date by repeatedly watching vlogs of places others had been, so my speech and manners wouldn't sound so ridiculous. Sometimes it felt pretty absurd. If I had a choice, if I had put that same drive to climb upward into studying, would my life have been different? But there are no ifs. My mother never even considered letting me continue my education. She even drank herself to death in a nightclub on a rainy night. She slept with so many people, yet no one came to collect her body. Those men only ever treated her like a toy. At the moment of death they said only, "What a pity." Sean was right when he said it. What's the point of taking a bad woman for a mother? What could she possibly teach? I couldn't let Cece rot in the mud with me. I couldn't bear the thought of her following my old path. At the time I imagined a bright future. Since I could leave once, I could leave again, and then I could blackmail Sean into giving me a large sum of money to ensure the rest of my life was comfortable. But the moment Cece first called me Mom, I could no longer bring myself to be that ruthless. Her small hand in mine, her unconditional trust, suddenly I felt I wasn't so bad after all. When Cece fell ill, I panicked. I was terrified of her leaving me. No matter how minor the illness, I would take her to the best hospitals for the most thorough checkups. Cece was very sensible. She would tug my sleeve and say, "Mom, this is too expensive. I'm just having a little cold." But I would still insist, "Cece, you don't need to worry about money. I've saved a lot for you. When you grow up you'll still need it." When she was in kindergarten, a little boy bullied her. In fact, he bit her cheek because he thought she was pretty, but Cece had never experienced anything like that and was terrified. She cried and begged not to go back to kindergarten. My heart just broke. So I hired a tutor for her to study at home, and I would never force her back to kindergarten until she was ready. Most of Sean's money I spent on Cece, a small portion went to my own illness. I put the rest of the money in a bank card and tucked it into Cece's little backpack. Sadly, now I can only see Cece's old photos and videos on my phone. I'll never see her again. During this time, only Sarah came to see me. Sean's prospective wives all seemed more concerned about my existence than he was. She sat at the edge of my bed, scrutinizing me carefully. I thought she'd be so beautiful. Not really. You look like you're dying, Anna. I don't even want to compete with you. She came to spar with me, in looks, in poise, and even for the position she now holds in Sean's eyes. Sarah was dressed beautifully today, radiant like a proud peacock. Because of illness, my face was gaunt, exhausted to death. The last time I saw Cece I had carefully put on makeup, but after she left I never had the strength to do that again. These women are all the same, whether gentle or hot-tempered, whether it's Miss Wendy or her, they all hold contempt in their hearts for women like me. It's a pity they're too reasonable. Good upbringing prevents them from doing anything to someone like me. Whether it's Wendy or Sarah, girls raised in greenhouses have hearts that are too soft. That's why time and again they've been used by me as rafts. Anyway, Sean and I are getting married. I don't want you to cause any trouble, but looking at you, you probably won't be able to stir up much. Sarah spoke from on high. As for me, I had no interest at all in this kind of condescending comparison from such a girlish person. I looked at her face, only thinking. If I ruined Sarah and Sean's marriage, or delayed it a bit, would Sean then have more time to spend with Cece? You tell me, if the media found out that after visiting me you came back the next day to find me dead in the hospital, what would they say? The heiress of the Yen group turned bitter for love? Or a femme fatale? Would Cece still accept you as her mother? I bit my lip, curled my mouth into a smile at her, took out the small fruit knife I'd hidden under my pillow, and plunged it into my shoulder blade. Sarah had never seen anything like it. She screamed, "Doctor! Doctor!" The ward erupted into chaos. I blacked out. The last thing I saw was the look of horror in Sarah's eyes. When Sarah left the ward, her face was ashen. This was probably the first time someone had played her like that. I smirked inwardly. Anyone who crossed paths with someone as unlucky as me would end up the same. Who told these women they always had to provoke me? I called my former agent and wired her some money. then fed that tidbit, embellished, to the gossip accounts. Sarah thought I was going to expose how she swaggered in at my bedside and grievously injured me, planning to smear her image across the media. But that wasn't the case. I changed my mind. I traded the gossip account The Scoop for a different script. The bad woman written on it would be only me. I gave the agent 2 dossiers. The first would drop tomorrow, showing me provoking Sarah, taking all the blame so the whole internet would tear into me. The second, if Sarah treated Cece badly, would expose today's events exactly as they happened. In my script, Sarah would have killed me, all to marry into the Fu family and become Cece's only mother. It was a soft weapon. Even if the Fu family didn't break with Sarah, there would be a rift, and in any case it would bring Cece back into the public eye. I've thought a lot about it. This should be the last thing I can do for Cece. So the rumor I spread became, former little star Anna provokes Sarah, trying to wreck the Yen and Fu family's marriage. Anna has been gone for years, now with nothing left. What's the final fate of this scheming woman? The online chatter began to roar, but most of it was scolding me, with others rushing to defend the Yen heiress. Anna really treated Sean like a money tree, huh? Broke so she comes back? Even dares provoke the heiress. Does she deserve it? Gotta admit, she was pretty successful at using Sean as an ATM. Miss Yan's daughter really has bad luck. She's never met a woman like that her whole life, has she? And she's been left covered in filth. But what I didn't expect was, the paparazzi flooded into the hospital too, hoping to capture the latest scoop. When I leaked the story, I had been extremely careful to erase any location cues, yet they still somehow sniffed it out. I shouted for the doctors and nurses, trying to get them to block the photographers so they wouldn't film my death scene. Otherwise everything I'd done would be for nothing. Miss Anna, can you explain? Is it true you provoked Miss Yan's daughter? Miss Anna, why are you in the hospital? Do you have some illness? Miss Anna, the child who appeared before, did you send them to the Fu family? Miss Anna? Doctor. Miss Anna, what's wrong? Wake up. Flashbulbs and camera surged forward. My vision blurred more and more. Amid the clamor of the media, I closed my eyes. My bitter yet sweet life was over. The bitterness belonged to the first half of my life, born adrift, having never felt even a trace of love. The sweetness came after Cece was born. From the moment she arrived, she gave me all the love in the world. In a daze, I heard Cece call, Mom. My only dying wish was simple, that Cece would be all right after I was gone. Perhaps my attachment was too heavy. Even in death I retained a sliver of consciousness. I drifted away from the hospital and came to Cece's side. Cece hadn't cried in a long time. Suddenly she began sobbing hysterically. Even Sean's attempts to soothe her personally were useless. Everyone was at a loss, and Cece couldn't say why she was crying like that, tears streaming uncontrollably down her face. After a while, the butler came over and whispered in Sean's ear that I was already dead. Somehow, although Cece didn't hear it, she cried even harder. Sean was momentarily quiet too. He crouched down to meet Cece's eyes. Cece, can you tell Daddy how your mother treated you all these years? Cece's face was flushed from crying, and her words came out in fits and starts. Mama did so much for Cece. Mama could have had a very good life, but it was all for Cece, to raise Cece. Cece spoke in fits and starts, and Sean found it hard to believe. How could she suddenly think Anna was so good? Sean didn't know how to comfort her now. Then why did she fabricate a death certificate? Because, boo-hoo, she was afraid you wouldn't take Cece. She said if you didn't take me, she would, boo-hoo. He could no longer tell whether these words were true or lies. Cece, your mother is a bad woman. She lied to your father and she lied to you. Cece wouldn't listen at all. Even if Mama lied to me, Mama treated me so well. She never did anything bad to me. Mama is a good mama. It's just. Mama reminded Cece that she must say Mama is a bad woman. Only then can Cece have a father. Only then will Papa accept Cece, but Cece wants Mama more. Mama, boo-hoo. My soul drifted, and hearing Cece's words, I suddenly wanted to cry. but not a single tear fell. Only then did I realize I was already dead. I could no longer comfort Cece, from now on she had to walk the road herself. I clearly knew months ago it would end like this. Now my heart ached as if I had fallen into endless hell. I once read fairy tales to Cece, told her a story. In that ending the mother rabbit dies and the little rabbit goes on a long journey. Cece asked, "What does dying mean?" I thought for a long time before answering her. It means going to another planet, but she will still watch over the little rabbit. Cece froze, so the little rabbit will never see Rabbit Mama again? At that time Cece didn't understand what death meant, but she cried all day and nothing I did could comfort her. Finally she sobbed and grabbed my sleeve. "Mom can't die, Mom has to stay with Cece forever." Sigh, when she was so small she had cried like that from a story about death. How could I bear to truly die in front of her? It was only after I was diagnosed with terminal cancer that I planned all of this. How heartbreaking would it be for her to watch me close my eyes and be pushed into the crematorium? I'd rather she think of me as a stranger, or learn of my death from someone else, than witness it with her own eyes. And I had to make sure that after I'm gone, Sean would take good care of Cece before I could close my eyes. The little bunny must have the courage to face the life ahead, not be trapped in her mother's death. Sean's perspective. Sean felt a bit despondent. He truly had been toyed with by this woman named Anna. Now that she was really gone, his heart felt pinched and wrung out. He bought Anna a burial plot and deceived Cece for a while. But Cece wasn't an ordinary child. As if she suspected something, she kept clamoring for him to go find Anna. "Daddy, I miss Mommy. Daddy, Mommy was really good to me, shouldn't I have not listened to what she said?" Cece was bad. Cece lied to Daddy. Mommy was a very, very good mommy. The nanny auntie wouldn't even remember my sizes, and she wouldn't make my favorite soft eggs, only Mommy would. But later Mommy got sick, and she couldn't take care of Cece anymore. Cece often repeated herself, which always made Sean think of his past with Cece. He knew she was an unabashed gold digger. Anna had never been to those kinds of places. The things she said sounded almost ridiculous. He also knew the things his brothers said were harsh, calling her a little celebrity. Just someone to warm the bed, just play with her and forget it. But he didn't explain to Anna either. Or rather, he felt there was no future between them. A wealthy young master from the capital, and a struggling little celebrity whose mother was poor and who worked as a hostess, mismatched. Yet he fell into it anyway, addicted to the lies Anna wove for him. He liked the way Anna made him feel, worldly yet touched with innocence, shrewd yet with a streak of foolishness. He didn't mind lavishing her with money. Sometimes her fabrications even amused Sean. But after Miss Wendy reprimanded Anna, Anna overheard the conversations between him and his family. He had said, "It's just fun, not like I'm bringing her home. I don't see what Mom is so worried about." Then Anna left him in a resolute way. After that, he couldn't find her anywhere. Sean used a lot of connections and money back then, but Anna seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth, gone without a trace. He even wondered whether her identity had been a lie. Otherwise, how could she be completely untraceable? His youthful pride meant he didn't insist on searching for long. She's just a gold digger. When she runs out of money, she'll come back to him, right? So Sean cut off Anna's cards and took back the property he had once given her. But Anna disappeared for a full 6 years. Sean couldn't help but marvel. After all these years, it was still her, always able to control him. Even nearing death, she never bowed her head to him. And Cece. She had kept Cece hidden so thoroughly. If Anna hadn't truly foreseen her own death, would he have seen Cece in his lifetime at all? What a cold, decisive, merciless woman. Cece, however, had been well taught by her. Every time Sean saw Cece's face, he thought of Anna. He felt as if he were going mad, and even handed over the affairs of the Food Corporation to others. He spent every day with Cece, in the house where she and Anna had once lived. The place still bore traces of Anna's life, and there was even a diary of Anna's inside. It recorded in detail every expense she had made. She had taken the money, yet lived frugally herself, sometimes even going out to do odd jobs for her friends to earn a little. Most of the money had been spent on Cece. The diary also listed what Cece was allergic to, what she liked to eat, and what she disliked. The entire diary was about Cece. There was only one sentence addressed to Sean. Such an adorable little girl. I've got to thank myself for having tricked Sean back then. Thinking about it, it's really fate playing its jokes. Anna was a good mother. Her own childhood had been a mess, yet she built a world of flowers and sweets for Cece. But Sean also noticed that Anna seemed never to have loved him, even back when she was a young star and acted as if she would die for him. It was her acting at its most brilliant. But he had long been in love with Anna. Whenever she appeared, she would pull at his emotions. Sean hated himself for not searching more back then. If he had looked a little harder, would he and Anna have avoided coming to this? If Anna had received the best treatment, might she not have died? He hadn't even been there with her when she passed. Sean would spend the rest of his life raising Cece, to atone for what he had done. Sarah was also surprised. She had expected Anna to expose her for provoking her at the hospital, but that didn't happen. When the public opinion settled, it skewed in her favor. Yet when the Yen family again proposed continuing the marriage with the Fu family, Sean refused. Sarah knew Anna was dead. She couldn't understand what Sean was holding on to. Weren't you already over each other? As for Cece, I like her a lot too. I'll treat her well. But Sean apologized to her. He only wanted to raise Cece alone. Some things may take many years to understand. Anna succeeded in one way. After all these years, I still can't forget her. Sarah understood what Sean meant and didn't press further. She also went to Anna's grave and laid a flower, saying, "You really are something, so cunning in every way, Anna. You used your death to make Sean take care of Cece forever."